What's going on, everybody? Greg Dawes, G, non-attorney pro se consultants. As always, I'm not an attorney who likes to practice law. I don't practice law. What I've done is study law, tell people what I've learned, how I gather information. I don't give information as advice to apply to your specific case, but it's general information regarding the law and lawful principles, which, by the way, belong to the people. So using the information obtained for educational edification only. And the reason I say that is because I want nothing I say to be construed to be legal advice. If you feel you need legal advice, I would highly encourage you to hire a licensed and hopefully competent attorney and be legally advised. We're doing our part of my No Gatekeeping Series thingy, bringing on my man, Macadamia. Uh, Macadamia has found out he's becoming as famous in some circles as I have, which is not, it's all good. We don't care. Any kind of, what they say, any kind of publicity is good publicity. But the bigger thing is always staying true and honest to the cause, whatever it may be. So, Macadamia, you're a young guy, virile. Uh, you're familiar with the jargon of young people, whereas I'm a dinosaur in a lot of these things. So I don't know where we start. I appreciate you coming on the one with uh I don't know, I know his real name Calvin, but the DJ, when we discussed some of my cases and some of the background you were familiar with anyway, correct?
hmm
And I was, I was been, trying to put out as much information as possible to help as many people as possible. And the one thing that I have noticed in one particular area, and I don't say like to say people's names without them being present, because it doesn't give them the adequate ability to defend themselves. Plus, it's just not manly. It's not alpha to talk about a person who's not there. If a person has something they want to say, I would think that you just say, "Hey, let's squabble or square it up this way." But then again, I guess different people may operate different ways, and that's all good. Whatever their standard is their standard. But I don't think I'm very hard to find.
No, you put your name out there.
Yeah, that's interesting. A little bit before we did this, you said something off air. Um, the name thing. People. I am DJ Squid, or was known as DJ Squid, but my given name is Shagret Doss Greg. I give it on the background. Almost all of them now is that Greg was what I used when I played football because they screwed up Shagret so much. And my mom used to always ask me, "Why can't they get your name right?" And I'm like, really? But it's like especially you talking about me playing 50 years ago is when I first started playing football. I was 7 years old. And the uniqueness of it, there wasn't as many ethnic names out there, back then. But nonetheless, you made a mention about I would call it a stage name or an AKA name or whatever. Um, but you know, there are some people who do have, well, I don't know, because Cuz is a real name, like DL and other people who Ricky Smiley may have their name, but that might be the name they just became. That might be their branded name. But
hmm
I don't know if being in doing what I do here, right? I don't know that going by Squid without telling them, hey, I do these things in the courtroom, and then I show you a document, but it doesn't have Squid, or I scratch out what the name is. Um, do you know if there's a benefit to that or there's a reason for that?
Well, people normally have aliases so they can get a. Some fraudsters use aliases to mask themselves and protect who they actually are. And so it's not easy to look up, the facts of the situation that they might be speaking about.
Uh, I'll make sure I say this for people. Our views are divergent on in many cases. Okay, so whatever macadamia says, don't attribute to me, and don't and vice versa. Don't attribute what I say to macadamia here. Um, like you have your name here, Anthony Rollins, and but I call you macadamia. So if somebody says macadamia, you may get. I might say start doing hashtag AR macadamia. The same way we did. Hey, we did. Now we got hashtag chicken nugget.
But,
And
but the thing is, you're not hiding your name. I'm not hiding my name. We might have nicknames, aliases, but we don't use them as purposes to protect or hide anything from people. We don't have malicious intent. We're not trying to defraud people. Like if you want to look me up, look me up. I ain't tripping about it.
Hey man, listen, that's how people grow. I didn't jump off the porch being the this what I would call pro se aficionado because like I tell people I'm not an expert at anything other than my life and my story, and I tell it. Um, I got my ass kicked a lot before I came to having a lot of success. And also another reason is because when you hear my name in the all whether it's the audios that are in the Dropbox or that you can go look up as somebody has, or you go look at the videos that we have on the playlist, they call my name. You hear him
Hmm.
say, "How you doing, Mr. Chagret Dawson?" You don't hear him say Greg. You don't hear
Hmm.
him say DJ Squid, and you say Chagret. And my documents all show that as well. So it's not a secret. And even the people who like Tyler, he said, you can always show his document name and everything. Uh, it is what it is. I couldn't see me helping you if I'm hiding things from you, because I think it takes away a little bit of context if you don't have as much information as necessary. Am I right for that or wrong in that approach to things?
Well, I mean, you want to have trust with people. You want to make sure that people know that you're not trying to lead them astray. So I think that that's like foundational. If someone's actually trying to help you out, is to show you the honest truth about what you've done and what potentially they're going to have to do themselves as pro se litigants. So, it's like why not show them exactly what you've done and what has been successful and what hasn't been successful and be honest about it. Like that's the big difference too that I see is that, you say that you got your ass handed to you a couple times. And that's just got that sometimes gonna happen. But you can always pivot, shift, get back up if they knock you down. 'Cause that's life in general.
Absolutely. It's like football. I catch the ball. I didn't score every time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on with you. I'd probably be celebrating in Seattle. Um, I didn't score every time I touched the ball. So I got tackled, had to get up. And the what you're saying now, it kind of makes me think about a couple of things. One, my word being transparent. I like to be transparent. Transparency, I think, helps fill in any of the gaps along the way. Plus, it helps the person who's listening develop questions in the event they want to talk to you. Hey, like what happened here, and what happened here, and what the benefit is of having the personal experience in this. If somebody says, Greg, what happened in the case, I could explain to you what it is and why I moved the direction I am and where I am here, where I am
Mm,
now. And I when I play ball, I want to tell you, you just can't guard me. Coach, get this motherfucker some help. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen.
mm.
Um, but when it comes to what I've been successful doing in the courtroom, which I always recommend people get you an attorney, um, I know that I've become an issue in Hillsborough County and the state of Florida in general. I think it's safe to say, even you, I don't know, would you say that based upon what you know about me over the time that you've watched my videos, is it safe for me to say that every level of the Florida judiciary has a great idea who Shagret Doss is at this point?
I think so. The Supreme Court knows about you, the appellate courts know about you, and then the bar knows about you, and you're in the legislature, your local government too. So, I mean, you're doing what us as citizens should be doing. It's showing up in every branch, well, at least those two branches.
Well, that's and being a veteran as well. I don't have any of that on. Well, I have my identification tags on, but being a veteran as well. And I wasn't some great war hero, but the thing that I say is I successfully completed my military obligation. My DD 214 is on file. So, and I'm on be discharged. And for those who don't know, I'm service connected. Um, so the this is what all led to me doing certain things the way I do them. And also, I shout out, we're going to get him on eventually when he gets his dental work done, Mr. Will Crawley, who the UCC audio that people can hear on. I did the interview with him because he's the person that I met when I first got introduced to a lot of this information that seems to be just continually circulating. It's like there's a new fool born every day. People are regurgitating information that existed 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And I got to bring my man UB on as well because UB was saying, it's kind of like somebody passing a counterfeit $10 bill. It worked for them, but the next time if you try it, it may not work for you. And what the system has done is it's adjusted to some of the things that people may have been able to get away with years ago, bills of exchange, OIDs, and all that stuff. But eventually, it corrected itself. So I would tell people to be cautious with some of this stuff that you think is some sort of miracle cure. They don't have these massive buildings with mahogany and marble. They don't build them with people just walking through with a couple pieces of flimsy paper saying, "Hey, this is my paperwork. I ain't got to show up in your courtroom and you can't tell me what to do." If it were that easy, all anybody would need is a copy machine.
True. I would love to hear this individual too, because I can narrate what you just said in a different way with regards to the rule of law and how the law works versus how the stewards apply the law now. And there's a nuance to it. And
Absolutely.
just because the law worked this way 100 years ago doesn't mean that it works this way now. And for practical purposes, it can't. Like there's different ways to parse that out.
But you mean like
Because
jeopardizing the law? People may try to. The thing is, is the law still valid? That's why you jeopardize the case, or you look up to make sure that your law is still good law. Because at one
mhm,
time, separate but equal accommodations was the law. Okay,
that's how it worked.
and at
That's
one
just
time, um, certain people didn't have a right to vote, didn't have a right to do a lot of things. In fact, you still really don't because they're trying to gut provisions of the Voting Rights Act. But and there's definitely a reason behind that. But there's also a point in time where women couldn't vote. So the law is not static. The law is a morphing thing, but there's a process by which it morphs. Um,
well,
in
we've
other
talked
words,
about
you had to
this.
have amendments. Well, hell, I think everybody took some sort of government class in school. Granted, my academic background is has gone up to political science, college level political science, with pre-law and urban studies and history being my concentration.
Mhm,
But and that also helped me kind of buffer from just jumping my ass into the pool of all that information and what the guys in who are members and subscribers on those classes called the package boys, they always existed. But what kind of helped me buffer, and I started off with a lot of that gobbledygook to a degree, and you can kind of hear a little bit of it in some of my early court cases. And then I went all the way away from just went back to what I saw watching attorneys do things and even working at a law firm. There's things that I just learned and picked up. Although I picked up that after all of my uh, recent court successes, but
mhm,
I know the process. I've been through the process. I've done appeals, and you can go look them up, right? We saw that, right?
mhm.
Well, 13 appeals. Um, I've filed lawsuits in the federal court. I'm in the middle of a court of appeals right now at the 11th Circuit, which is the step right below United States Supreme Court. Um, I've had to defend myself to avoid prison and jail and prison time. That's not a joke. That's why I take it pretty seriously in doing this and putting this information out. So when I'm seeing things or hearing people are asking me about certain things that they have heard somewhere else, I'm like, well, one, anybody who has something to say, they can just say it to me. Um, and anybody who has a question for me, just ask me and I'll just explain to you, why I took this strategy, what the strategy is. Here's why, here are the rules and how I got here. I'd asked you before about a word that I said, well, if somebody's lying or what have you, and you use the word gaslighting. So we're going to take this and say, we'll make this, is a guru gaslighting you? So because I'm older and I'm just like I'm like old school OG. I see, that cat. I'm gonna keep it clean so they don't flag me. That cat's lying. He just straight up lying, or he's deliberately a half truth is a whole lie. Nowadays, people say, well, there's some truth in everything. No, a half truth is a whole lie, period. And a person so your word was gaslighting. So help me understand what gaslighting means in young folks' terms. Um, I say it's a lie. But what do you, or if somebody says something to you that they know is not true, I call it a lie. You call it what? Gaslighting. But
Gaslighting or they're capping. I mean, that's
oh, I know capping. I
another
mean, I've heard these terms capping. You know, and you just talk
yeah.
about.
They're just trying to mislead you for multiple different reasons to get one over on you, to get you to do something that they want you to do because they know that you believe one thing when another thing is true. They can get you to do something. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why people gaslight just to play games with you. I don't know. There's plenty of reasons why people don't ask me. Like I don't. I'm not out here trying to defraud people. So there's only so much that I can understand with regard to someone who is regularly gaslighting people. Um, but I always look out for it because I don't want to be a fool. I don't want to be gaslit or defrauded all the time. So like when the story's not lining up, or if you ask more questions and they steer away from clarity, then you know that there's something up.
That thing sometimes it's not about right or wrong. More important, it's about clarity, right?
Yeah.
Um, the so gaslighting. Is it safe? Because my perception, and I'm sure yours, and the people who may watch this later on may have a totally different perspective for what's going on. Is it like I would think if a person has a body of information, or a person is project or professes to be otherwise intelligent and honest and whatever kind of person. I don't like to use the word guru, but I say guru because that seems to sting people a little bit more.
Hmm.
I'm just telling the story. But if a person has all the information, but they only give you, like I said, whether it's three, even if it's nine-tenths true, it's still a whole lie.
Hmm.
What is the younger person's? Is it still gaslighting? Is it still charging you, putting the battery in your back and charging? What is it when a person intentionally delivers partial information to people for the purpose of I don't know, because I can get into slander and libel and all that stuff. That's or even if it's just a straight up beef, because some could argue that within this medium of social media, you have some poetic license. Although I would probably venture to tread lightly or carefully if you say something that's intentionally misleading or lying about a person. That could cause, that could subject you to serious civil consequences.
100%.
I
But
think did somebody do that to was it Cardi B or some celebrity said wasn't there a recent one that said something negative and she sued her anyway, even though she knew the person didn't have anything, she just sued her to put the the judgment, the weight of a judgment on somebody. Uh,
mm,
but go ahead and speak on what you think about what I just said.
well, I mean, the last point is, people really do need to. I think people need to just be more honest and trustworthy and stop trying to gaslight to cap on people because it doesn't help our communities out to mislead people. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And like we were saying off air, it really doesn't make sense to me why people stir up these type of things when you could just get on a YouTube channel or get on a Zoom and talk it out and present all the facts, 100% of the facts and the evidence supporting it, and just clear it up. So it doesn't necessarily make sense, why there's beef going on, especially when we're all trying to do the same thing, which should be help our communities out, help stop prosecutorial misconduct or whatever it might be in a given situation. Um, but yeah, I'm always looking out for someone who's not telling me the truth or giving me the whole truth, so that I can make a well-informed decision for myself. Because I want to say my mom didn't raise a fool, but someone could fool me by feeding me the wrong type of information. So I mean, that's something that we all need to be taught at some point in our lives, and sometimes you got to go through a few trials and tribulations to kind of see why you need to get that clarity before you make any decisions.
So let me ask you this question. Does the community, because I was writing it down as you were speaking, have a duty to research and hold accountable gurus just in general?
100%. I mean, this is like the state has a manifestation of this, the consumer protection departments of different states. We for it's great for the community in general for there to be quality control, and people making sure that people aren't intentionally steering people in the wrong direction and causing harm and havoc to general society or a smaller community. And I think every industry, if you want to call this an industry, needs those checks and balances and make sure people aren't taking advantage of people by feeding them misinformation and then like I don't know if you want to talk about this on like at this point, but is your guru an agent? Like, some of this stuff seems like it's planned out for them to set you up for failure.
Okay, before we get there, have you ever heard of the phrase caveat emptor?
No, what is
Yeah,
that?
okay. You talked about consumer protections, and now let's do it right. Let's do it like a GO. You threw that out there as your guru and agent. Well, that definitely is a discussion. But you see the Google
Yes. Yeah. Caveat impot. What is this?
means let the buyer beware.
Latin. Oh yeah, let the buyer beware. And that's tough. Like, because you have
Placing
a
responsibility on the buyer to thoroughly inspect goods or property for defects, risk, or suitability before completing a purchase. Now, you may say, well, a service may not be within this particular the realm, but
mhm.
it's like an as is these things here, but it's like under this rule, buyers assume the risk and sellers are generally protected from liability for defects discovered after the sale. Now, there's definitely nuance to that. We know that
There
because that's
better
why the
be.
consumer
That can't be how society operates.
no, it shouldn't be how society operates. To say that, I can scheme you, but that's where all these other agencies, because at one time, the agencies that you just mentioned didn't exist. Those rules didn't exist because society didn't require it. But as society grew, certain things were required. So, um, but again, there is uh, a responsibility, and there's also things like deceptive practices, like Practices Act.
Yeah, this is like the consumer
That
protection. Yeah.
uh, prohibit unfair, misleading, or unscrupulous business actions in commerce. There you go. So
Well,
that
it
that
needs to
was
be
that
outside of
could
just commerce too. I would say that this is general conduct for
no, but
society,
see right here, false advertising, hidden fees, and bait and switching tactics, allowing victims to seek damages. So it's
injunctive
there's
relief. Yeah.
yeah, so there's definitely nuance in it as well. So, and then this intent of business can be liable even without the intent to deceive. So the thing is, if you're selling something, then I'm not. This is definitely different from libel, slander, or defamation. Totally different. This is just some things just to give some foundation to people as to. And I tell people all the time, don't even trust what I say. Look it up.
Hmm.
Don't think no, and stop regurgitating or stop repeating things like you're a damn parrot. A parrot has no ability for conscious thought or conscious communication. It just mimics what it's heard. And we have a society operating on sound bites and, I don't know, keywords or some other stuff that, and then when you ask people to explain it, they can't explain it.
Well, I mean, this goes back into something also that we said off air, which is, the law sometimes shifts. It's kind of
Not
fluid and
static. Yeah, it's not
it's
static.
not static. It's a principle that has to apply given, the circumstances of current society. So people need to understand that because you were saying that 20 years ago there were these bill of exchange sort of arguments and UCC arguments that were maybe working sometimes. But as society shifts and they get, the courts get an understanding of where people are going and loopholes that they're using. If society can't operate with everyone using those loopholes, then they're gonna close those loopholes down. And people need to understand that too.
Absolutely. And I tell people all the time that the um the onus of information lies in the individual, and it would be disingenuous to sell people on something that is patently untrue. And at least, but that doesn't mean that it's against the law. Because you can lie. Typically, a person is allowed to lie to you, depending on what the circumstances are. The issue is whether or not if they were under oath and they told a statement that they knew not to be true under oath in an official proceeding
Hmm.
about something that's material, then you could possibly get perjury. And I just would know a little bit about that because that's what Judge Holder and Victor I'll say conspired to create against me, and I say it that way because I won the case.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I could have sat in prison for 5 years on something that had no probable cause and no materiality whatsoever. Um, when it comes to a lot of what I'm dealing with now, I think is more retaliatory because of, as we said before, the Supreme Court had to step into that case. I had to disqualify several judges. All this is in the record. And not only did I win that case, I continued to push in other areas. Um, for background for my child support case, as you know, the children involved, or they're not even children, everybody's an adult now. I just went back to address some of the foundational issues with each case. There's one case involving Miss Smallwood, where the issue is, and I also let me say this before I go to that. I don't focus on what people may have as a moral thought or fiber for what they're doing. I only focus on, in my case, the law. The issue isn't the children and taking care of the children. The issue is what does the law say you could do to me, uh, and what are the parameters? And when they first came, there's things I didn't know, but my eyes are definitely different than they were 25. Actually, 95 is what, damn near 30 years ago, right? My
Hmm.
eyes are definitely a different set of eyes, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I hope so.
so, yeah,
Yeah, I
you think
hope.
everybody, you like to think you're at the same place that you were 30 years ago. And so when I looked at the law and said, hey, this issue is really, did you ever have jurisdiction? We do know, and it might be a separate video, that the mother never had a minimal contact with the state of Florida. We know that the so-called, you call it what, the home state, never filed an action. Uh, we know that the law reads quite clearly that service of the initial summons and complaint must be served, and I'll just clear that up right here for those who need to see it, which I don't think it's necessary, but let's just do it this way just for argument's sake. You want to read that right there for macadamia?
Florida Rule of Civil Procedure 1.070J requires that a defendant be served with the summons and complaint within 120 days after the initial pleading is filed.
Keywords are,
Initial pleading. Yeah.
so if it's amended, would that be initial?
No.
Okay. And then the consequences may lead to dismissal, which is particularly dangerous. It must be the court must extend the time if good cause is shown, and then at the 20 day for those new parties, it begins the entry of an order granting leave to amend the complaint. But and at the time that that case that I dealt with was filed, the rule would have required them to have gotten the permission and what have you. But that's something that anybody who can read would know. And then you can get into the issue of minimal contacts. You can get into the issue of mandatory disclosures, which you brought up in the other one. I forgot all about that. Um, for minimal disclosure, mandatory disclosures. Let's try this one. It's amazing how much you know, but I guess when you start to do it yourself, you start to pay attention and stuff, huh?
Oh, well, and when the stakes matter, like you better show up.
Yeah.
Financial affidavit, yeah. Oh,
This mandatory disclosure 12.285. And so let's go to see that. What kind of disclosure is it?
mandatory disclosure, yeah.
This is
Application.
I don't know what year, we'll find what year it is, but let's see. I guess disclosure requirements for temporary initial summary proceedings. We don't care. Parties disclosure requirements. Um, the bigger part is, and anybody can just look up the information that uh let's see if there's a word must in here. Let's try this right here. Control F. Let's see if there's any must.
Must be furnished.
The most recent statement for profit sharing. Okay, let's see must. All amounts must be monthly. Okay, must, must. So if you see must this many times here, that means what? Whatever they're asking for is not optional.
Mm-hmm.
So if this document doesn't exist at all, there's it's reasonable to suggest to assume um that without this document, the court has nothing upon which they could rely on to
Yeah,
make
they
a
don't have
ruling.
this the minimum information to even set child support if they don't have this information.
Right. Amazing how that worked too, huh?
It's pretty clear. So that's the issue. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand why there's so much beef when, we
I,
all can read the rules. We can all see what's available on the docket, and it should be cleared up. Just like if we were to go to court, you would show like this wasn't admitted for them to establish child support. So that's the issue. Like this is why I don't get the beef. I just don't get it. It could be cleared up really easily.
well, I know they'll be watching the video because that's what they do, and you know I'm talking to you too. Um, the reality is, somebody said, I was told to do reaction videos, and you said those things can work. I'm like, I don't give any credit. It's like when I play, if you're just not as good as me, I'm not thinking about you. Fuck what you do. And the reality is, I have a digital resume. I have a visual resume. Um, there's no what do you call those? Like if somebody says I'm like a faceless. I'm not faceless,
Hmm.
and I'm not nameless. Um, I think it's kind of beta, really, in this day and age. To if you have something to say, you can't just say it. But like I say, LL said, if you got something to say, if you think so much, you're that great. Write a song about you. Don't write one about me. Uh, I rely on the old Negro spiritual. I let the work I done speak for me.
As
Shout
you
out to
should.
Alia Jackson, man. Yes,
Hmm.
and the many others who sang it. But it does go to some of the videos I'll do later on, like the gaslighting issues, the guru gaslighting people for the purpose of sucking you into something for their own benefit. Are they fully transparent? And or actually, do you have the cognitive ability or skill set to recognize it? Um, do does your guru help motivate you to step away from them? I know that one of the laws of 40 laws of power is never to outshine the master, but the teacher should always want you to elevate.
Mm.
Otherwise, I'm not really teaching because at some point the teacher understands mortality. We have to move on, or there's placement things. Um, and these are just some questions that come to my mind. And like, and then when we talked about, is your guru really an agent? And you brought this up because you had to remind, well, not remind me. I know it's out there. Has your guru ever gotten a letter from the bar? Has your guru ever been the subject of any uh, organized, constructive effort to incarcerate, imprison, do something to you? Because if you think about the course of American history, when have you ever known an advocate for other people to never face ridicule from the people who they're trying to help them overcome? Even if you go back to those who want to believe in that Messiah guy, hey, he turned over the tables, right?
Hmm.
He definitely wasn't in this. He definitely was not an establishment guy, right? And what did Pontius Pilate say? I see no fault in this man. They still strung that nigga up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fact. And we can say that with the absolute assurity. Nobody that looks like me that was doing that wasn't successful would ever have faced any kind of would never if I wasn't successful, I would not be retaliated against is what my argument would be.
Hmm.
That might sound a little brash and overconfident. But also I'm gonna tell you something else that kind of I was talking to somebody about, how to go about dealing with things. And, I'm not gonna say the name of a person who's, I'm trying to be nice. We all know is not as good as me anyway. He does too. Um, it's evident. I'm because one, I'm really like this, okay? Because you can Google me and find me. You can see me in certain places. So I was thinking about something, macadamia. And they reminded me about this right here. And let me see something. Let me show y'all something in here. I want to make sure I don't. Not this is not my last one, which was pretty funky though. When I had to give them a definition of woke. Y'all should go check out some of my city council stuff. In fact, let's do this right here. So you see the back page
Yeah,
here.
yeah, I've seen this one. Yeah.
Yeah, we ain't gotta show them that one. But this is the one that they say I need to talk to people about who may not have seen it. I got a lot of goddamn videos in here. So this right here is me going to city council um to ask about these goddamn videos. And this is when I was calibrated.
What year is this? Oh, 20. Dang, you've been doing this for a minute.
Two of your former officers and some other adults, and I'm a litigant against um, city of Tampa. Two of your former officers and some other public individuals. And I have a couple of cases. I'm not wearing my shades, and I didn't realize because I have sensitivity to certain lights.
Hmm.
So, but one particularly pending in the Middle District of Florida, where the city of Tampa is named as a defendant, and the case number is 22 CV 129. It'll be Doss versus Holder et al. And I guess the city might need money for other reasons, so they get from people asking for public records requests. So anyway, back in 2017, one of your police officers, who happened to be the mayor's head of security, allegedly received a phone call from a local judge requesting that he investigate me. And that investigation wasn't an honest attempt to find any facts sufficient to charge me with felony perjury. It was essentially a legal lynching. And by the way, you don't know in the state of Florida, a perjury conviction can get you 5 years in prison. So I wouldn't even be here today. I self-represented, and the case ended when the judge was sent in from another circuit by the Florida Supreme Court. And he dismissed the case after about an hour of time. But it took me disqualifying several judges in 7 months of being prosecuted and bouncing from courtroom to courtroom and from judge to judge. And throughout this criminal proceeding, I requested documents from the city that I was entitled to as a part of break. So recently I put in a request for that same information, and I get this invoice for $10,614.50. And you all, the city, is claiming that somebody needs to put 461 and a half hours toward finding what you should have had when you were prosecuting me. So I don't think anybody here believes that it should take any one person or any combination of people essentially 12 hours a week time, of working time to give me the information. In fact, you're going to give it to me because I'm entitled to it under Florida law. And you can just go to check out Chapter 119 of the Florida Statutes or Sunshine Act. Plus, our governor's already put on the record that Florida is a law and order state. Not I don't like Ron DeSantis. Gets to disregard ACC that you can kiss my ass. Legislature is put in place.
Oh, okay.
So I'm here hoping that I can convince you all to get whoever is responsible to get me the information I requested. And I shouldn't have to do some sort of GoFundMe to have the city do what it's supposed to be doing. So I appreciate your time, and hopefully you take me seriously with what I'm asking for. You all take care. That's Tampa City Council. For those who don't know,
Hmm.
they're gonna start talking about me in a second.
Mr. Mass, are you familiar with what this gentleman was talking about, sir?
So this is a city attorney coming up now.
I'm not familiar with the exact items, but under state law and we, under our public record, we have a public records, office. And we do charge for staff time if it's for extraordinary requests that require additional
Extraordinary.
special type of, services and trying to, retrieve all the records. So that is standard operating procedure, we are allowed to do that under state law. There's cases where that's been challenged before for other municipalities, the courts have upheld that our ability to charge for those sorts of services.
So here's where I would, if it weren't for the fact that they prosecuted me. And this information, I find out only when I started my civil lawsuit that you had this information while I was being prosecuted. My
Hmm.
argument is, well, if it existed then and I requested discovery, which I did, and I was told that you'd give me everything, that's a lie. This is still Brady information because there's probably information in that there were, I could argue that there was information in emails that was either exculpatory, which would have exonerated me, or
Hmm.
inculpatory, which would have led to me being able to be convicted, which would have probably led me to once, okay, if you had any information that was inculpatory, okay, I may want to plea out to something lesser or whatever.
Well, it's
But you
most
can't just
likely not there. Yeah.
listen. We can imagine how many niggas I was in them 7,000 emails. Okay. If I,
Yeah.
by the way, anybody who doesn't think there's something strange that they would have 7,000 emails on some regular guy, that should be making everybody's antenna go up. Why would you have 7,000 emails on this guy if he's not somebody to be concerned about?
Hmm. So is that attorney? So Tampa has the different prosecuting attorney versus this attorney that was just speaking at
Yeah,
the
because I'm
council.
suing the city. Remember, the city's named in the lawsuit because it was
Hmm.
the city's police officer that falsely accused me, right?
Well, that's
This,
not the prosecuting attorney, right? That's just the city's attorney.
no, it's the city's attorney or the prosecuting attorney. Once the case was dismissed, it was dismissed.
Well, I'm saying so like in Washington State, the county's attorney is the prosecuting attorney.
Right. This is the city's attorney. I was prosecuted by the county. The 13th Judicial Circuit is Hillsborough County is the state of Florida. So the state of
Yes.
Florida prosecuted me. They charged me with felony perjury in an official proceeding under
Hmm.
state law. That has nothing to do with the city. When I
But
sued,
it was the city police that the judge called, right? That's how that they
right,
got
and
transferred.
because
Gotcha.
it was the city, the county, which is the sheriff, and all the entities that they were communicating with, I'm entitled to all of it. And plus, you can't hide it and charge me because it's all public information. Remember,
Should be.
you can't use it as it's not work product because it belongs to the public.
Should be.
If
Should
you
be. That's
if they use city equipment or city emails, it belongs to the city.
should be.
No, well, they should. Yeah, yeah. And I'm pretty
Should
sure they
be.
probably found a way to get rid of it, which would be an inference that you knew there was something
A
that would
little
have
funky
benefited.
going on.
But listen what he says now, and then you're gonna have this burly chick come running out here to the front. Watch this. If I may,
I can't let you speak,
I
Mr.
didn't have
Massey.
any more time left.
Mr. Massey, and I understand all those rules. My concern is if there is a public record and police arrested people or did anything to this gentleman from 2017, in my mind, there should be already records held already and not.
All I can do, I'm not familiar with this in particular. All I can do is we will look into it. And we'll have
You
public
just
records office.
information because I see something wrong here. I understand how sometimes we become victims when you have a certain kind of skin color. I hate to say that, but the bottom line is I want to get this information. I'll probably be gone, but I know several cops will be here, and that needs to be looked into because you can't tell me I'm a police officer a long time. They keep records. So gentlemen, give her your name, sir, and hope we can address that.
Watch this.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in chambers?
Watch this.
Mr. Mass.
Mr. Goode's question, Ursula Richardson, who's in charge of our litigation department, this matter is an active litigation. I think she wanted to let you all know that this is standard operating procedure.
Watch this BS. Some of it's BS, but listen to this shit.
And just so that you are aware, this is a federal lawsuit that's in front of Judge Charlene Honeywell in federal court. We are in the discovery process, and as a part of the discovery process, you can't just get free records.
Now, this is what's interesting how she wants to characterize free records. That the issue is you all didn't turn this information over during my criminal case. And by the way, the interesting thing about Judge Honeywell used to be the chief judge of the 13th Judicial Circuit and did not have, I have 6 judges on my witness list that she at one time worked with. So naturally, she should have recused herself from my case.
Mm.
But she kind of told held the water for him, and she shut down my entire discovery. So just shortly after this, she shut off my discovery. So I didn't even get discovery in my civil case. Part of my argument in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, because even if you wanted to argue that Holder had absolute immunity, the city doesn't acquire absolute immunity because he made a false allegation. The city still had to have probable cause to even arrested me. No probable cause exists, as we all know if they watched the whole perjury thing, because I didn't do anything that they claimed I did. So there was no probable cause or even arguable probable cause.
Mm-hmm.
So, but listen to what she said. She actually gives me a compliment in here after she finishes bullshitting.
So if it's going to take any extraordinary amount of time to get the records that Mr. Doss is asking for, and I haven't looked at his new request, he sent a public records request first when he should have been operating within the confines of the actual lawsuit itself, the discovery rules.
What she's not telling you all is that Holder, who is actually the state of Florida, is representing him because he's a state judge, asked for the discovery to be my whole discovery to be stayed. So we didn't do discovery. Yeah, that's interesting too, right? There was no discovery in my civil case. The judge shut it off. And this big
Well, how do you prosecute? How do you prosecute or
it,
litigate if you don't got discovery to prove your
that's
case?
why I'm that's
I mean,
why I'm probably
it's
that's why I'm in the 11th
ridiculous.
Circuit. That's why I'm in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
But listen to what she says about me.
He just, I believe yesterday, sent an actual discovery request. I don't have the opportunity to look at that. But even if that new request that's been sent through the proper channels, basically there are a lot of records that he's asking for. He is required to bear the cost of any extraordinary request. If he's just asking for a police report that's 5 or 10 pages, that's something we turn over without any issue. If you're asking for thousands of pages of records, you're not entitled to those for free. So if you are in discovery, you have to bear some cost of that discovery when you are bringing the lawsuit.
Totally missing the point. And she's actually mischaracterizing it.
But we think we're down here giving us a little more explanation on it. But I still think $10,000 is a lot of money for some records still. But again, hopefully we can get the gentleman what he needs and the city can get what they need and we can move on. But I just want to make sure that he did get heard. Because I mean, to me, it raised the eyebrow of my colleague here. That's a lot of money for some public records. So again, hopefully we can get it worked out.
Well, let me just, for the record, since we are in federal litigation and Judge Honeywell is in charge of the case, if he has an issue, when we're in a lawsuit, you bring those issues to the judge for her to resolve.
And I did.
So that would be the proper channel to get his lawsuit related issues resolved, is the federal judge.
And I would agree, but sometimes citizens don't know that they just want
Watch this.
to hear them or get them some help or get them in the right direction. But
I get it. Mr. Doss is experienced pro se litigant, so he's not unfamiliar with the system. Welcome.
For the record, would you just please state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Ursula Richardson, Chief of Litigation for the Legal Department.
Thank you.
So she gave me a
Give you a little pat on the back.
yeah. So hopefully that would clear up anything from once we cut this up and do what we need to do with it. The city's chief legal, she's actually the chief attorney for the state of, for the city of Tampa.
Mm.
She is Tampa's attorney. Kind of interesting, huh? She said I'm not unfamiliar. She made it sound like I was doing something deceptive, but what she didn't tell him is Mr. Doss asked for all this when he's getting criminally prosecuted. I wouldn't have had to pay any extra cost for that.
And I think it's even arguably the case that this is all the information belongs to the public anyways, so it shouldn't be hard to just turn that stuff over anyways, even if it was electronic, scan all that stuff or just
Well, no, the electronic. What I offered in my request for is, if it's going to be a substantial cost, I just come in and do it myself. I offered that. But what she didn't want to tell everybody, which makes sense because it's part of their jockeying and the advocacy, is Judge Honeywell shut down my discovery. Go to case 22-CV129 in the Florida Middle District. There's an order in there. She says she just stayed all discovery. So she
but
essentially
why?
ended. Well, that could be speculative as to why. I could say speculatively, I think she was trying to protect a lot of people because don't forget that my underlying issue is I discovered that they were stealing properties, remember? They took over $1 million worth of property from me, remember?
This is all coming full circle.
So when people talk about things which they can't really talk about, but the one thing is clear is that wasn't AI generated. Okay. And neither is the other cases where you see me in the courthouses or you see me talking. They may have the AI generated background, but the interaction is backed up by the transcript. I
Mhm.
kind of was going to stay away from it in this one. I'll go into more detail. We talk about termination of child support. That was there, and Jackass talked about it, and then Goofball, how he missed this. A smart person, an intelligent individual, doesn't overlook things, nor do they put things out without having context. So let's do a control F and let's do our magical dollar sign, right?
Wait, you're not sharing.
Oh, my fault. Thank you. An intelligent person pretty much covers bases before they just jump out there, right? Typically.
You would want to, otherwise you're offering up your credibility.
Or you are exhibiting your lack of credibility.
Yeah.
So here's a transcript from the proceeding that this individual, and you know who I'm talking to because he's watching, he's gonna watch this because that's what betas do. Uh, you see that dollar sign?
Yeah.
Control F. Watch this. What's that number?
$835.49. At least that's what they're alleging.
So I'm trying to. I say, here's the Department of Revenue estimate that we're going to base motion children are or whatever. So let's see. I think the question was, so is it owed? Is the state's position is owed by me? I guess it's on the case. She asked about the laryngitis, we all know. But the thing is, she said, here's the thing.
State provided Medicaid, food stamps, and cash assistance.
Here you go.
DOS.
I'm trying to find it. I swear to you, okay. Is the state of Florida's position I owe $835.49? So it had to have been said somewhere up in here. But she's going to say, yes. And can you articulate for what I owe 835.49 for the Medicaid? So this has nothing to do with child support.
Mm.
Because if you want to say here, watch this right here. Watch when arrears is mentioned.
Yeah, Miss Ball has already stated that
I've never
she
seen give me the
lost
arrears I'm
nothing.
looking at. So she
Yeah.
signed this in November 2013. I've never seen the state give up. The state argument is 835. And for those who want to just do this right here, let's see where you see a dollar sign here, 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 here. Nowhere in this document do we talk about $56,000, do we? And
No,
actually, even if you didn't trust me, go to the freaking video.
I know. I literally watched this video. So the transcript is just icing on the cake, I guess.
And I provided a transcript in my exhibits. And if you watch the second part of it, you'll see what we talk about this. They tried to suspend my license, and the other odd part about it is even if I filed the motion to vacate timely, they weren't supposed to move anyway, are they?
Mm.
Because it tolls the decision until the judge makes a decision.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really are this guy, and like I told him inside that hearing, which you know already, you can already attest to, it's reversible error for the court to fail to include a child support guidelines worksheet in a final judgment. She's saying what was added later. It's not what the rule says.
Mm-hmm.
Because filing a guidelines worksheet is mandatory, is the court is required to reverse the judgment, even if the omission is due to the party's failure to comply. And what's the other major issue we knew about this case? Neither me or her were there. So then what if there was even one that you wanted to put there? Who would have verified the information in it? And of course, a person who's intelligent knows that because while they're showing something from 2020, when was I last inside the court? What's the date on here?
Was that August 20th, 2024?
So you would know something about the what happened at the last order, correct? That just
Yeah.
goes without, it goes without saying. They would know what
Yeah.
happened last. They would know that 2020 was not the last activity. Now,
Mm.
I'll probably end up cutting this up a little bit later on to help break down some other stuff. But you know, you're watching. Yeah, I'm the one who files this stuff, and I write this stuff. So for those who don't know, and this is why if you listen to the other one, you see order denying she does this, and she's gonna mention something in here. Where did she say she's gonna say they produced? I think it was 55. Yeah,
Pursuant to affidavit of arrears certified by the clerk.
that did that come
Blah,
up
blah, blah.
anywhere?
Arrears. Yeah, that's very clear.
But that never happened. This is
Was
the
res
hearing off the recommendation. She's claiming that that was submitted.
mm,
The finding of fact. See, after reviewing the court filing with no admissible evidence, this is not admissible because that was never even discussed, was it?
yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
when I
How you
went to,
lost it?
so when I went here on this date, that's why I asked the judge to on her own, which is probably why this thing is not gone anywhere. I asked her to do sponte, the court to.
Sua sponte, yeah. Correct an error.
Why is it not giving me sua sponte? She,
I think isn't it with an E? Sua sponte, sui.
it's not.
Maybe
It's
not.
and she may not have understood what I said either.
Well,
Just
that would be
try to, because I know I said it because you can hear it in the transcripts. Okay, we did this right here. Court, yeah. I filed everything electronically. Keep in mind, folks, this hearing's only for half an hour. It's the court speaking. One success. I actually brought up the holder thing. See how I slid that shit in. Um, Arabelle Campbell. Let me do this right here. Here we go. Here we go. But beyond the issue for the court today is my motion. Um, in my motion is I move to set it aside to vacate her order, its actual recommendation, because hearing officer Arabella Campbell misled the court and intentionally misled the court when she gave her recommendation because she stated in her recommendation that we discussed some 56,000. Now, what was done in plenty of time for the court uh, to have a record of it is I did submit a copy of the transcripts, the March 24 that I submitted. So the court has a copy. So I guess she doesn't. Whatever the court. Yeah, it's attached and tell a story. Against my objections, disregard the fact that the mother not only filed an affidavit, but that the mandatory disclosure rules are not totally ignored by everybody. Nowhere in transcripts is there. See, I tell them to do a control F like we just did. More
Mhm.
importantly, we know in that file there is no, it must be attached to the final judgment. That didn't
Mhm.
happen. And there's no way testimony in the record. Before I became savvy, I told them that. Because there's no mandatory disclosure financial affidavits. Yes, Your Honor, dot. And I did file a certified copy. And Miss Cromie, that bitch knew that. And she knows the original child support guidelines worksheet. That wasn't in there either. So these are procedural errors. But
Hmm.
we're splitting hairs because why? The mother's already said she doesn't want anything.
Yeah, I read that affidavit.
We don't have to discuss that. Even if you don't give
Mm.
an order, that doesn't matter. If you can just go by her word and be done with it, and then if you want to discuss 832, that's a different discussion. The other
Mm.
part of it is if you're going to try to say we're going to enforce it, well, you can enforce it because once you terminated it, you would have to bring a brand new case to go after the old money.
Hmm.
But then you'd have to be able to show some proof that the order was valid and that the numbers would be valid. And that can't happen. Plus, they're more than 4 years beyond emancipation.
Hmm.
But what we do know is some people put a lot of money. The bottom line is release the motion to vacate the order. But the part is anybody can have this that wants it because they're going to see this. I'm like, okay, there you go. It's the reversible error of court to fail to include a child guidelines worksheet in the final judgment. We saw that, and because the guideline worksheet and judgment is mandatory to this court, or if it says at the time is required to reverse the judgment, even if the omission is due to a party's failure to comply with the rule. But mandatory is mandatory. It's not called
Hmm.
optional disclosure, is it?
No,
There you go. Hopefully, we did that pretty quick for the people.
but pretty easy to clear up. I don't understand why people
Why would an otherwise intelligent individual mislead people?
yeah.
Talking about the hearing officer, right? Or are you talking about somebody else?
So
I was talking about the hearing officer. Uh, but also, it was pretty clear that some people who have some pretty lofty credentials think I'm pretty good at what I do, huh?
well, that was actually yeah, that was actually pretty funny that gal, knows that, you know what you're doing when you're litigating.
And I
And
have
that was back in 2023.
well, I filed a case in 22, but she, well, if there's 7,000 emails, they know a whole hell of a lot about me, don't they?
Yeah, for sure.
Let me throw this out here for those since we're talking about it. You see this right here?
Final judgment of paternity and support. Yeah.
This is when it was all paper because you can see the little holes. But watch this right here.
Mhm.
Do me a favor, read this right here.
The following persons and counsels were present at the State of Florida Department of Revenue and Assistant Attorney General Wendy R. Doyle, counsel for DOR.
Who's
That's
missing?
you, were you there? Was
It tells you who was there.
Clee the following persons?
Okay, whose names are missing?
Yours and Clee, right?
Yeah.
So they just had a little hearing without anybody except for them.
And even if you serve me, you still needed this person to verify something.
Hmm.
And then there's no, and this is this. There's no child support guidelines worksheet attached to this. This is the order. It has to be attached by rule. And any of these numbers, even if you wanted to impute it, you'd have to impute it based upon all
Some sort of affidavit
information.
or some sort of record.
And these aren't my oldest. These aren't my oldest children. So you'd had to do what? To be equitable, you had to do what? Deal with the other children that may exist and have something of substance to have something of
Sure.
substance to apply. But the other part
Hmm.
is you still have to just follow the law. I don't even know that the mother even did anything. Even they say, well, the mother subrogates her rights, but to subrogate in subrogating rights, she has to have a right to subrogate. And in Florida, we know
True.
you had to also include that the father that time sharing is a component of the final number in Florida. Now, although now
100%.
it's 50%, but even there had to be an argument that she had to be able to prove that she's the primary residential caregiver, and Florida hasn't had custody, even though this is after this. 2008, Florida never had custody, but before that, there could be a presumption, but it has to be based upon something. There has to be some
Mm.
testimony somewhere and that testimony could be rebuttable. But even with all this, when she signed that affidavit, this all would have gone away.
Should have, yeah.
And
As an operational flaw.
the
Yeah.
court could have done on its own to what? Just say, okay, well, she said she didn't want nothing, which is what the DOR obviously knew. They said, well, they only talked about 832. My thing is, why would I have to pay anything? For what? Because the state didn't give the money for Medicaid. Medicaid is federally funded.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
what's
now, whoa, you want to stay away from that? We got a lot of states playing around with some fraud and
well,
issues,
certain
issues going.
certain states may have a different contribution. Don't forget, Florida, we don't have a state sales tax in Florida.
Well, I'm just saying there's a couple different states out here that are getting into some federal issues with their fraud, taking federal funds.
Fun to
And
do, yeah.
yeah,
Well, the thing is, if $832 is our issue, I may just say, okay, I'll just give you 832. Now I can be on with my goddamn business. But what I'm not
sure.
going to do is just let you think you're just going to roll over Greg. I'm
But
not.
that's the thing that I'm sure that that little petty amount of money they're trying to see if they could get you to just do what they want. But that's not Greg.
No, not without supporting it with something. I can pick and choose my battles. I mean, I'm not, that. Well, yeah, I am rigid, but but what's clear is it was never about $56,000, and that's out the state's own mouth or through her laryngitis vocal cords,
Hmm.
because you can hear it when you listen to the audio. And for those who may watch this later on, we'll go right back to you one more time, and we're just doing this because me and Macadamia were just having a conversation. I'm like, shit, I'm trying to figure out what the hell happened. All
Well,
right.
you got this, the transcript that we just looked through, the video is on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's the same one. Yeah.
Ah, so if they want the facts are available.
I get that, bro. And that's why I'm just so baffled as to, you know, what, like the chairman says, to what end? In other words, why are you doing this? To what end? What is it? There should be some reasoning behind it. Um, well, here's one thing that they can see if they were to look on here. Um, there's me in the court proceeding with the judge where we talk about the
Covering opportunity to respond. That would be a procedural error because this is not an administrative case, this is a judicial case. But the mother subsequently in 2013 filed within the record a affidavit stating that she wanted nothing else to do with this case. This case has been closed for some 8 or 9 years. After I filed my action in the middle district, which is related to one of your former, I don't know if he's your former colleague, I don't know if you've been around that long, Judge Holder and the mayor's bodyguard, uh, Michael Victor, falsely accused me of a crime of perjury. I won that case.
I be name dropping like a motherfucker, don't
As you
I?
should. You got to hold
Yeah,
them accountable.
yeah.
Successfully after disqualifying 4 of the 13 judicial circuits judges, and then the Florida Supreme Court's chief judge at the time, Justice Lombarga, sent a visiting judge in to hear the case. The case was ended in my favor. I won the case. So part of it, I believe, is a retaliation. But beyond that, the issue for the court today in my motion is I moved to set it aside, the vacater order, because hearing officer Arabella Campbell misled the court and intentionally misled the court when she gave her recommendation, because she stated in her recommendation that we discussed some $56,000. Now, what was done in plenty of time for the court to have a record of it is I did submit a copy of transcripts
We
from
read that.
the hearing in, I think it was March 24th.
Kind of sounds
That
consistent, don't it?
I submitted those transcripts. So
Sounds consistent with what we just finished going over, right, bro?
I think so. I mean, it's pretty clear. If you don't like the transcript, watch the video. If you don't like the video, read the transcript.
But if you happen to have gone into the case and pulled the whole case file, you know all this.
Or you could do that too.
Well, no, apparently somebody did do all that, but for some reason they didn't show everybody that.
Mm.
Goes back to, is your guru an agent? Is he gaslighting? Is he otherwise wholly incompetent? And at any time, if you want to hear the discussion with me and negatively, I would think that I would allow her to offer to just close the case and disregard the $835.49.
so that we don't turn this into something that it doesn't have to be.
Well, good luck with that. I've never.
And she used to work, by the way, Arabella used to work for the Department of Revenue. And what you all had to go into some of the audios and find is me dragging her in a child support. Before she became a hearing officer, she was a worked for the Attorney General's office as a child
Mm.
support attorney. Yeah, and I brutally uh took her apart. Yeah.
Say I had a conflict.
Watch this.
Request her information. But I'm looking at COMRIE. Is that the attorney for the Attorney General's office?
Yes, she's with the Attorney
Watch this.
General's office.
Okay, so, okay, I was expecting you, Mr. Arena, so if possible, without me having to be more formal, I'll request her information as well as our information. I'd like to look it up, but I don't know if that's the proper spelling. Ms. Brett is here, I guess, to give testimony, as to the factual basis of whatever the department's, arguments may or may not be.
Yeah, she's the representative for the Department of Revenue.
Now hold on. The reason that this looks like this is because I did this Zoom
Mhm.
while I was out of town, so I don't. That's why the clarity is not the same. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm not in my studio like I am when I do the other. You could tell the difference. And I
Yeah.
did. I actually did. I was using the camera from my laptop versus one of the fancier ones that I got.
Mm.
But here you go now. You're gonna hear him bring up another guy.
Basis of what the department's, arguments may or may not be.
Yeah, she's the representative for the Department of Revenue. Unfortunately, Mr. Arena is deceased. So,
Oh, sorry to hear that.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Uh,
so Mr. Doss, do you want me to?
Prior to his passing, if you go on my page, you'll
Mhm.
have there's a video called "How to Deal with a Bully," child support hearing officer, and you'll hear the guy that passed away just verbally abusing a guy, and then you'll hear me and him have our interchange, and you'll hear me drop him on his damn head too. So I'm not talking about what I do in court. You can go and listen for yourself, but it's actually
Yeah.
on YouTube. But I did drag his ass too. So it's just, and I'm actually trying. I think I'm actually pretty kind guy. They
You
always tell
actually
me,
are a lot nicer. You're a lot nicer than I would expect you to be based off some of the things that I've heard, especially like beating off the perjury charge and stuff. I would hate these people.
well, I do hate him. Now, you may hear me be a little bit more aggressive in the civil litigation involving State Farm. And actually, in the one with Denton, I think I caught myself because I was about to call the title for the attorney out of her name.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her to give me something. She said she had no obligation to give it to me. I almost said, B, you better give it. I had to catch myself because I just don't appreciate people who have an obligation or duty not doing their job.
Proceed with the hearing. Would you like somebody
Watch
else
this.
to do
Watch this.
it?
Watch this. She's gonna say I used to work for him. She's gonna tell me that. She knows who I am.
Yeah, she's the representative for the Department of Revenue. Unfortunately, Mr. Arena is deceased. So,
Oh, sorry to hear that.
yeah.
Okay.
So, so Mr. Doss, do you want me to proceed with the hearing or would you like somebody else to do it?
No, you can hear, the facts are the facts.
Okay, so you're waiving any potential conflict?
I'll stipulate that you can hear the case, without having to recuse. Now, whether there's a conflict, that probably would be a meritorious determination, but.
Well, you either waive it, because I don't want you in the future to say I had a conflict and my order is invalid because of a conflict, so. You can waive it or somebody else can hear.
Any factual, Mrs. Campbell, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to, resolve the matter now, so.
All right, so it's your motion, you can proceed.
Okay, so.
I don't think we gotta get into the rest of that, but damn, I've been looking at some stuff because you see right here when a plaintiff exercises right to voluntarily dismiss a lawsuit, the suit terminates the court is there without jurisdiction. That's not the issue. Uh,
Voluntary dismissal, termination action.
See when they terminated when they terminated their case, certain standards of fairness must be adhered to. Consequently, a quasi-judicial decision based upon the record is not conclusive. Minimal standards of due process are denied. That would go to the original order with Mrs. Ball. Because I was going to put something together to do a reaction to the one that you all saw me with the suit on, so people can understand why I people will be able to understand why I moved in the manner that I moved in the case. So one of my arguments is we talked about neither me or Mrs. Ball was there. So procedurally, you had no competent substantial evidence upon which to base any kind of judgment
Mm-hmm.
because you lack witnesses, and the attorneys we know can't be witnesses. So I was just doing some just looking up because the trial failed to
In,
observe essential. See, so
in Florida, is it the fundamental fairness doctrine or what is it?
it's
What
fundamental fairness, but it's also and this is where I was looking up. And for those who don't know, it's I do this and I do the shepherdizing. When you see this, it means something was flagged, and you'll find out by looking at it. Um, but the termination issue was the one that caught my attention. I was like, they terminated it. Oh, there you go.
still valid should be enforced? We agree. However, in order to enforce it, the department must file a new lawsuit and properly serve it and
They
prosecute.
terminated the case, right? They couldn't
Mm-hmm.
bring back the same case. Either the
Mm-hmm.
department is claiming they are owed money or somebody's owed money, which wouldn't be. They have no. They don't even have standing to enforce an action on her behalf because she's already given it up.
Mm-hmm.
They could have just sent me a fucking bill for $800. But you have no authority to try to even suspend my license. Again, this is why when people were watching this is why I say when you're really like that, they do other little things to try to dissuade you. And by the way, this all came back after I sued Holder in the city of Tampa in the sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
It would make sense that if they wanted to bring, they could have done this in 2016, 17, 15. Why bring it back in 2024? In the middle of a major lawsuit. I would speculate, and I don't like to speculate, but I would just say, is this the timing is just odd. I haven't heard from you motherfuckers in years. But when I filed a lawsuit that you all know that they say I'm pretty good at litigating, all this other stuff comes from other directions.
Yeah, this is prosecutorial misconduct, I would say. This like there's a
I have to
lot.
prove that. But and there's the case itself, not required to act on it. Um,
Department had to file a new lawsuit, yeah.
that's pretty clear. We all knew that. They terminated. Nobody's arguing they couldn't come back, but you'd had to come back with a different case. Terminated means terminated. You could
Mm-hmm.
you can't resurrect the case. You could resurrect you could create a new claim, but you might have had 4 years to do that. So if you terminated in 2015, and who's to say that this termination wasn't due to her affidavit, right?
Yeah.
See 2015. Oh, right there.
You're not sharing. I mean, you're
Oh,
sharing a different screen.
hold on a second. Thank you. When they terminated,
2000, is that 2015? Yeah. May 19th.
so and I hadn't heard anything from him until 2024. That's not some really unique
Wild.
time.
Yeah, wild.
And I'm saying that anybody, when you're watching this, so you can try to help your people not know how much better I am than you at what you do, you should have shown them it was terminated this date. It didn't come back until even after that. They tried to do some work in 2020 in the midst of me fighting the other stuff, and they all knew in Hillsborough County that I knew they were stealing houses because you took $1 million worth of houses from me. We already went over that. They can go to my GD and AppSy website and just say they stole my houses. All of this, even after 20, it was dead until 2024. I'm like, what the hell y'all got going on? That's why I said I think it's retaliation because it has none of this is sensical. You could have sent me a bill for 842, but you have no cause of action against me. Even if you wanted to get your 842, that would take a new lawsuit based upon what you're claiming I owe you in this lawsuit. and then you'd have to be able to prove it. That would require an entirely new proceeding. Not because Greg and Macadamia said so. We just read the freaking law. So me not operating, I don't care what y'all claim to me. I'm willing to. I've already shown I'm willing to go to jail to fight you. I don't call myself an advocate. I'm not an activist. I'm just an MF that don't. I'm a nigga that ain't afraid of you, motherfucker. That's who I am. I don't see y'all like that, and I ain't just talking about it. I'm really like that. And it kind of sounds. I had to say. I had to take on the persona of the guy that played football. Dude, this is not gonna work. It's not gonna go well for you.
Mm.
Okay, and but it's pretty clear, right? You saw the
I
final
think
judgment.
I
These
think
transcripts.
it's been clear. The information's out there. So if you want to believe what you want to believe, but if you don't want to look at the facts to come to a fair conclusion, then I mean, it ain't no point. But this is the
Well,
real deal.
well, it's just like this right here. Read this one, you can see.
Which one? It is well accepted it is a well accepted principle of law that when a plaintiff exercises his right to voluntarily dismiss the lawsuit, the suit terminates and the court thereafter is without jurisdiction to adjudicate the case or the cause in any way. And then involuntary dismissal of lawsuit terminates action, and although dismissal, which is voluntary, is without prejudice to bring what's the to
This is the one.
okay. Let's see. See also Hammond Lead Products Incorporate versus American. Any form of termination of defendant's cause of action satisfies the social policy which underlies the rules which requires plaintiff to prove as an element of his cause of action that the proceedings were terminated in his favor. And then so tort it will be enough that the proceeding is terminated in such a manner that it cannot be revived, and the prosecutor, if revived, and the prosecutor, if he proceeded further, will be put to a new one.
It has to be a new case to get their money.
Mm,
It wasn't just closed by them by the court and then say, okay, you can always reopen it. This is you terminated the action. That's actually in the court record.
mm,
But even without that, I think it's pretty clear that even with all that, I'm sufficiently informed and armored to fight back,
say
especially
whatever.
now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that any reasonable person would think that Greg is a lot better in 2026 than he was in 2015 and 14 and 17 and even 24. I would, I think that kind of goes without saying, right? I'm a better litigant than I was way back then, right?
You'd hope. You'd hope you're not just banging your head against a wall.
Well, this doesn't even count the driving out license cases that we know about, right?
Hmm.
Or the other civil litigations or the number of appeals that I've done, right? And we just showed them. So I don't know why. I just, I'm not going to try to figure it out. Um, I'll probably do a video to discuss if Cat's just really an agent. Malcolm once said sometimes they'll get a black person to kill a black person just so they can say a black person did it. Because at the end of the day, to what end, bro? To what end? I always appreciate your time, Academia. I think that this discussion helps to clear up things without having to mention a bozo's name. Uh, and they can take it any way they want to. But at any point in time, I think everything could be clear with just transparency. I'm not even here to battle with anybody. I'm not even here for you to say for just tell people that I'm just. I know I just said how that I'm really like that, which you have to have an air of confidence to do even that little bit right there. But you can see hours of me litigating.
Hmm.
You can go and get audio worth hundreds of hours of me litigating in my Dropbox. And if it's not anything that you can't get in there, anything you want, there's an audio for it. Every one of those court proceedings, I went in, sat in through the whole day. The perjury was a 7 month ordeal with me not even understanding what's going on and not having an attorney that was willing to represent me without me giving them some outrageous price. And whether that was just divine intervention, because I don't know if they might have tried to convince me to plea, I took that to the mattress and it was dismissed in my favor fully. Look that up too. This thing that with the notion that with what's out there that people would relegate me solely to child support is kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
It is.
Especially when there's footage of me doing other things. I mean, I could probably upload some of my old football clips. They actually got some of that on YouTube too,
Yeah.
from high school. I was playing against somebody else, but you see me catch about 6 balls or something like one night or something like that. Yeah, I wish I
People
had.
just have to be informed. They have to want to be informed too. The
And,
information's out there.
and even in cutting this up to put that part on there, when you say they have to be informed, what would you say as a because we're all laypersons, but what would you think if it were me and I say this is what I would do if I were you? If somebody gave me some information on somebody else, the first thing I would do is ask, the greatest question ever asked, what's my man Larry Larry King said the greatest question you could ever ask is why? Why? And then why? And so if you were somebody said this macadamia can't dribble a basketball. I said, oh yeah. Before I go and repeat that, I like to know who is macadamia and why are you why in fact why are you even talking about macadamia? I came in here to buy a bag of chips. What does macadamia have to do with anything? I want to buy a bag of chips that you're selling. Macadamia's chips suck. Okay, well,
Well,
I
so
don't have a,
what? Look,
I I have a bag of these chips. I want to buy these chips. I want to buy macadamia chips.
hmm.
So what are we talking about? Well, they suck anyway. Don't ever buy them. And then my first question would be, well, why is this guy talking to me about macadamia? It may make me inquisitive. Well, let me go see what's going on with this macadamia stuff. And I go, even if somebody said, why is he calling this guy macadamia? And then that's for your YouTube channel for you to explain why you're
One of these days.
why you're affected. And at least I don't laugh anymore because I've seen you enough now. I don't laugh anymore.
Yeah.
But and talk to you enough. But even the other guys, when they first, they laugh too though. So it's not just me. So
It's not. It's not.
so I
And
was like,
there's a story behind it. So this ain't no alias to hide anything. It's a there's some funniness to it. So I don't have a problem. But you can see my name. You guys can read my name right here. So I ain't hiding nothing.
uh, and I just so, but what would you say? Because like my thing is just like why are we discussing this? And it's kind of like word problems. Some people don't do well with word problems in math. The easiest thing is what do you know? What do you want to know? How would you go about
Mhm.
solve and check your answer? What do I know? I know macadamia. Well, I don't even know. Well, it's been proposed. Okay, it's been proposed that macadamia can't dribble a basketball. How would you come to, or how would you find out if macadamia can dribble a basketball?
Well,
I need some
if
other
I want to be
information.
informed, I would look it up. Greg Doss. Like
Mhm.
who's this Greg Doss
Well,
guy?
no, I said macadamia. I
Oh,
said,
I would look. Yeah, I would look. Oh, sorry, not Greg Doss. I would look up Macadamia or find out what his real name is and see like does he have any cases in federal court or in state
no,
court.
basketball.
Oh, sorry. I mean, I want to see if he plays
Focus,
basketball
focus.
anywhere.
There you go.
Yeah,
Focus on the
yeah, he
questions
plays
asked. Yeah, the
plays
important things.
basketball anywhere. And did he play college ball? Did he play in high school? Does he got any stats that I can look up?
And can he? Does he even have it? First, does he have any hands? Because even I would think you don't have to be a very athletic person to dribble a basketball. How well you dribble it may be something different. Everybody can't
Mm-hmm.
be got handles like Kyrie Irving,
Mm-hmm.
but they say he can't dribble a basketball. Okay, well, what does that mean? What does that have to do with anything? And why does his prowess in basketball matter if I need a kicker? You know, it's just, I don't get it, but I'll make a little bit light of it. But I think that once I get this chopped up, we'll have enough information out there. Because motive is always a question that one would ask, should ask. I shouldn't say should. Motive is a question I often ask. I go, what's the motive? What's the reason? To what end? I don't give it too much. I'm giving a little bit now because I have a little bit of insomnia and because you're so far away from me. I think it was 3 hours, and most people are still celebrating um, in your state a very dominant performance by the Seahawks,
Mm.
and and candidly exposure of what happens when a young quarterback is thrust into a situation and when people say is he going to be the next great time? First of all, Tom Brady's don't fall out of trees. Okay, it don't work that way. That ain't shaking the tree to get a bunch of apples out and just anyone will do.
Mm.
But it turned out to be what I thought it would be. But um, some things I guess should be addressed. Plus, it gives me content. So I'm always good with that, and hopefully to our discussion tonight provided clarity, Macadamia.
I hope to the people who want to know the truth. It's out there. Nothing to hide.
So if you have any questions, it would be what?
Why? Just come to Greg. If you think that he's defrauding people, oh, hit him up. His number's online. He's got a website. He's got a YouTube channel. Find out the facts.
And run with the
Cut and
fact.
dry.
Is the information valid, right?
Yeah.
And do you know? So hey man, I appreciate it. We gotta get together and chop up a little bit more about your situation, other than the fact that you've been made as famous as me. Um, and we'll go with it from there. Any closing thoughts?
No. I mean, just
Any
I
shout
like
outs?
what is your saying? No, what is your saying? I love about the whole honesty and transparency with yourself. Say it.
Oh,
Say
sometimes it's not about right or wrong. More importantly, it's about clarity. You never reach resolution if you're not willing to engage in honest dialogue, even if that dialogue is with yourself. Take time to hug the person you love and love the person you hug. On behalf of the GD non-attorney pro se consultant, actually is over there. I don't know where it is. I'm Greg Doss. Of course, I'm the infamous DJ Squid. Um, and I'd be saying peace and chicken grease. And I'd say I'm out. So you want to end the show, or is that good enough for
that
us?
was good. That was good. It was good talking to you.
And I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you being transparent, being willing to have a discussion and keep it within the rules and bounds. I just never say people's names when they're not here to defend themselves, even if I think something so very adverse about them.
You're a
Um,
better man than I am.
well, hey, listen, everybody's operate within whatever the compass is of their rules, and I uh, strive to stay consistent with that.
I hear you.
All right, buddy. I'll catch up with you later on,
All
and
right.
we'll get it going.
Yep.
Peace.
Later.